Hello, welcome back to another episode of Inspector Lander. Today we're looking at a landing page from TheHoth. It's promoting a product called Selling SEO Mastery. It's a low ticket $47 info product. So we've got the objective marked down here, and now let's dive into this above the fold section. So the pre-head reads, warning, SEO Mastery is only for serious agency owners who want to grow their sales in 2022. This warning angle is pretty typical direct response stuff. It's a bit cheesy, but it can definitely work for qualifying people. There's sort of this challenge where it's like if you're not a serious agency owner, then this isn't for you. However, the big issue here is that they haven't updated their year, so it still says 2022. And this is pro tip for any marketer or advertiser. You've always got to do this at the end of the year. Go through all your ads, all your landers, all your emails, and update them to make sure they reference the current year, right? The headline says, "Is your agency in a sales slump?" Which I think is okay. There's a lot of agency owners who are going to hit this page and say yes to that, right? So it's effective from that perspective, and the framework that it's using is known as the problem solution framework, right? So you phrase the problem as a question, like, "Are you struggling with X?" or "Is your agency in a sales slump?" And then it sort of naturally pre-frames them to receive the solution in the next sentence or the next couple of lines. So the subhead reads, "Welcome to Selling the Hoth Way. Inside you will learn how to sell more, attract better clients, and retain them long term." So this "Welcome to Selling the Hoth Way," this section here, this is the Hoth Way, kind of hints at a unique mechanism, but it's not really very specific. It doesn't really tell you much, and given that it's the brand name, it also doesn't really kind of generate a lot of intrigue, because it's like, oh yeah, well, this is just it's like the company way. It's not some secret new strategy that's got some cool, fascinating name. Inside you will learn. We've discussed in past episodes. What's a better way to frame that is like inside you will discover, or revealed inside, that kind of stuff. Words that create a little bit more drama, a little bit more suspense, and imply less work. And then the desired outcome and sort of benefits here, sell more, attract better clients, and retain them long term, is really vague and really just sort of non-specific. So, overall, is this unique? No, not really. Is it useful? Yes, I think so. Urgent? No, definitely not. I mean, it's for 2022, right? Ultra specific? Definitely not. It does clearly communicate the promise. It's just that the issue is the promise itself is just not very good. So below the fold here, we have a VSL, a short form VSL. And so I've got it sped up here just so you can see. So the big thing that jumped out to me here is there's no captions, right? There are some animations. There are a couple of cuts. We do get a little bit of copy on the page, but it's missing captions of what he's saying, right? And so 80% of internet traffic, especially paid traffic on Facebook and Instagram, is going to be on mobile, and most people on mobile don't turn the sound on when they watch videos, whether that's in the feed or whether that's on a lander, right? So that's a missed opportunity there. The other issue with this video is, there's it's not very visually compelling, right? So as far as the sales message, he actually hits on, some of the keynotes, but the shirt that he's wearing is not a very eye-catching color. The background's very bland. They kind of bleed together a little bit, right? Like it doesn't create any contrast. It doesn't really hook you in visually. So that's another missed opportunity. Again, the sales message itself is pretty solid. He hits on results, he hits on his credibility, talks about how much he sold, $500K a month or whatever. He's trained X amount of sales reps, this kind of thing. So, he establishes some good things. He intros the product, hits on what's included, and then drops the price, right? And encourages you to sign up. So, it's okay. He's 6 out of 10, I would say. If we want to look at the page speed, I've run it through our trusty page speed tester, pinged him, and we can see it's at 3.14 seconds. So that's like a full second above the 2-second benchmark that we're looking for. So they're likely missing out on a lot of traffic from people who are clicking on the ad, but then are giving up before the page finishes loading, right? So in that case, you always want to try to do what you can to increase the page speed, whether it's compressing images or decreasing the resolution on videos, or setting up lazy loads so that things only load if they scroll down the page to where it is, that kind of thing. Those are all some of the more typical fixes for slow page speed. We already covered the VSL here, so then if we look at the mobile view, scroll back up to the top, I say it looks pretty good. The headline overall is pretty blocky, and now what you typically want with subheads and with copy in general is for it to form a downward arrow, right? So that you're kind of, you know, subconsciously and psychologically pointing people downward to the bottom of the page. And this like kind of does this, but not really that well. And the other thing is it prevents the CTA from actually showing above the fold, which, you know, also sucks because you want people to be able to see that, right? So this ends up eating a huge amount of real estate, this kind of, you know, header section as we call it. But generally speaking, I would say the page is optimized for mobile. The font is a good size, right? Like it doesn't look too small on mobile. It looks big, if anything, which is what you want. And yeah, otherwise, you know, the page looks pretty good. So yeah, as I mentioned, the CTA is not visible above the fold, whether on mobile or on desktop, which is an issue. You know, it's a big button, which is great. It's got fairly enticing copy written in the buyer's perspective, right? It's in a first person, like, yes, I want to X, I want to sell more SEO, I want to, you know, quit my 9-to-5, whatever it is. And the link does work, right? If we test it here, we can see that the link does work. But the issue here too is that the red doesn't really contrast, right? It's the red's present all over the page. And ideally what you want your button to do is to jump out aside from the other accent colors on the page, right? Which this does not do. So moving on below the fold, we have our credibility badges kind of right where you would expect them to be here. And these are great. You know, these are, you know, Forbes, Inc. 5000, Search Engine Journal. These are well-known names inside and outside the industry. So lots of credibility there. Really, really enjoy that. If we look down for the product info, we have to kind of scroll a little bit. There's a little bit of like, there's kind of like a problem agitate section and then a solution section here. So again, PAS, problem agitate solution. That's a very common copywriting framework. So that's kind of what they're executing on here. And then sort of they introduce the instructor. And then, so here's kind of where the product info section starts. And they've actually got a sneak peek inside video. And so I like that. It's a nice feel, especially with digital products. One of the issues is that they don't feel as tangible, right, as physical products, obviously, because you're just getting access to information. Now, this video could have been a little bit more dynamic. It could have had some captions, you know, but the fact that they have it and you can at least see on the inside decreases the likelihood that someone's going to refund or charge back as soon as they get access to the product because they see the members area and for whatever reason they don't like it, you know. So at least this gives them that sneak peek, which I think is good. But the big thing that we really look for with info products is curiosity bullets, right? So bullets that tease the revelation of a secret or a tactic or a strategy or a mistake to avoid, whatever it is, right? And in this case, we just get some very feature-heavy copy, like 8 modules. You know, no one wants modules, right? The reason that someone's buying this course isn't for 8 training modules, right? No one wants to go through video modules. They want to discover, you know, what never to do on an SEO sales call. You know, you see the difference there? And the rest of this copy is just super bland and really not very compelling. So again, bonus points for the sneak peek video, but overall, these are pretty weak. Next here we have, social proof. There are 2 testimonials, but like, to be honest, I missed these on the first time I was going through this page. So that's a major red flag, because if I'm coming into this page with the express intent to audit it and look for these different elements and I didn't see this, then you can bet for sure someone who clicked through on this from an ad is not seeing this, right? And so they're just these very kind of vague texts. We don't even get the last name, you know? We don't get a headshot. There's no kind of like headline to the testimonial or bolding for any added emphasis. It's just like Taylor, agency owner, okay? Francis, SEO consultant. Detailed guides like this are rare these days. You know, so are articles and PDFs. Like, there's nothing about that that's compelling. This course really covers everything. You know, you really put it in perspective. There's really not a lot of juice. Great SEO advice. Like, these are super weak, super watery testimonials that are really not going to move the needle. And again, like, if this is all that they've got, well, then it's no surprise that, you know, they haven't really put them front and center, right? Because they're super weak. So that makes sense. The rest of the CTAs are, again, kind of the same as the one above the fold. So, you know, the button copy, I would say, is enticing. I mean, this button's kind of smaller than the rest, which is a little weird. The rest of these are pretty big. The link works. We can see it goes to the car page here. One-time payment of $47. It's always good to include the price and the subtext there. Access for life. But again, I think the big issue here is that the color just doesn't really contrast, right? We got subheads that are red. We got bullets that are red. We got, you know, outlines that are red. There's a lot of red on this page. So the button really, really doesn't pop. So next we'll look at FAQs, which sadly are not present. There's no frequently asked questions section here, and with a product that is so vague, with the promise, and so non-specific with the product info, right? It's just like, we are going to teach you how to sell more, attract better clients, and retain them long term, and we're going to do that with 8 video modules. That is basically everything there is to say on this page, And so the FAQ would have been a great opportunity to get into some of the specifics, address some objections, just provide some more information, because it's, there's a high likelihood that people are going to have questions like, what if I don't have my first SEO client yet? Will this teach me how to find my first SEO client? What if I am just getting into SEO? What if, what if, right? And so if you're the product owner, you should easily be able to come up with, 5 to 7 of these like what if questions that are going to be on someone's mind when they're, considering buying this product. So especially if if it's an established product and you've actually sold a respectable, sort of amount of units, then, you've had to encounter these objections. You've had people emailing in, you've had support requests coming in from people who actually bought the product. And so all that stuff is the fodder that you want to put into the FAQ. So lastly, we'll look at the offer, right? And we'll sort of evaluate it based on the criteria of a Grand Slam offer, borrowing from Alex Hormozi's $100 Million Offers book. So the first thing is a desired outcome. So there is a desired outcome here, and I think it delivers on that, but it's so broad and non-specific that it doesn't really do well. I gave the product name an 8 out of 10. Selling SEO Mastery is the name, right? And so selling SEO, it's got some alliteration, and mastery is a nice kind of power word that's similar to secrets when it comes to product titles. It's proven, it's very effective. It moves the needle, right? Whether you like it or not. So I think overall the product name itself outperforms really the copy that's on this page. $47 pricing is pretty typical for a low ticket kind of tripwire offer like this. So, I think it makes sense. Like it's decent. It's not $4.99, right? You're not like, oh my God, this is so cheap. I've got to buy this. Like it's almost free. $47 is something, right? And so I think it's in that low cost range, but as to whether the value on this page really justifies that, I think that's questionable, because another thing that's really missing here is the bonuses, right? So it says, and many more bonuses, but it doesn't tell you what they are. It doesn't tell you what their retail value is, right? You've got no information. And so you've got to make this assessment for yourself based on what you've seen on this page. Do I think these bonuses are going to be valuable? And, most online consumers are pretty skeptical these days, especially with, something like this. So, again, that's another missed opportunity to really increase the perceived value of this offer, right? Because bonuses are a huge needle mover. And ideally what you want is the first bonus to be something that the prospect wants just as much, if not more, than the actual product. Because then psychologically it's like, well, this is the thing that I want most, and I'm getting it for free just by buying the product, right? And so that's a very powerful, very persuasive frame to put someone in that can really, really help drive up sales. Looking at the guarantee, not happy with selling SEO Mastery. Again, like I wouldn't frame it this way, right? Because so now you're like, you're putting someone in this frame that they're not going to be happy, right? And then they they offer you a 30-day money back guarantee, which is I gave it a 6 out of 10. That's kind of fairly standard, but this framing is not ideal, because now you're putting someone in it. Now you're putting the thought in someone's mind that they're not going to be happy, instead of saying, hey, you're backed by our 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Even something as boilerplate as that would be a better frame than this. As far as urgency and scarcity, it's a digital product, so there's no scarcity, there's no limited quantity, there's no supplies are running out. There is this here, this timer, which I'm sure is evergreen, meaning that it just resets. It's not a real timer, it's fake. And that's probably why they placed it down the page where they have, because it's not real, right? And so they don't actually want to draw a ton of attention to it. They just want to have it there to kind of, give someone a gentle prod over the edge who's kind of on the fence. So anyway, that wraps up this episode of Inspector Lander. I hope you got some valuable insights from this exercise, and I will catch you next week.